Okay, thanks for coming, everybody. Um, just a quick introduction. Hope I'm not behind this pole for too many people. My name is Michael Gaudet, and let's see, are we getting a little bit of feedback here, Clayton? Okay, that's better. Yeah, that's better. So I'm a local artist and writer, author. Here at Manitou Beach. I've been here with my wife Sharon for about 25 years now. We run a little business called Gigi's Gallery and Gifts, which is seasonal. And I just want to let you know I've written 2 books so far, and they're the first 2 of a trilogy. And I just want to give you a really brief overview of the books. Just a quick, in a nutshell, when I was 21 years old, living in Toronto, I was diagnosed with kidney failure. And so I had to go on emergency dialysis in Toronto at Sunnybrook. Now, 7 months later, my brother stepped up, Stephen, and donated one of his kidneys to me back in 1979. And this kidney that he donated lasted for 34 years, so that was actually a longevity record in Western Canada. And that story is kind of outlined in my first book called Dancing with Rejection, A Beginner's Guide to Immortality. Hi, Danica. And the reason it's called Dance with Rejection is kind of a double meaning. Obviously, when you're first starting out as a professional artist, or maybe a freelance artist might be more accurate, you're going to face some rejection. Everything you chase after as a freelance artist doesn't always materialize. So yeah, you'll get your odd bit of rejection, maybe more so than not. But nowadays, not so much. Mostly now it's pretty much smooth sailing in that department. And also, of course, everybody that has a kidney transplant has to be concerned with the possibility of rejection. That's why you have to take your anti-rejection meds. And also, it helps to keep your friends if you're on anti-rejection, right? That was a joke. Dry, I know, but... You want me to go up a little higher? There, okay. Is that better? Okay. So that gives you a kind of a brief overview. That's kind of the background story of my first book. But then, of course, it's just kind of the background, and then it kind of spins out from there to a lot of different stories of people I've met, adventures along the way, and of course some of my more pivotal moments in my art career are all kind of sketched out in that first book. And the second book I wrote on my healing journey, I guess you could say, is called A Work in Progress, The Life My Brother Saved. And it kind of chronicles the 34 years with my glorious health with a kidney transplant. And finally, the book terminates when I was told by my doctor that I had to go back on dialysis in May 2014. Now, I'm not looking for a pity party here because this does have a very happy, triumphant new beginning. I was on dialysis for 5 years, hoping and praying for a second kidney transplant. And you know, like a bolt out of the blue, on June 11th, which was a Monday, I went to my regular day on dialysis in the city for 4 hours, drove home, had supper, crashed out, and then the phone rang, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to bother answering that, I'm already asleep. So my wife answered the phone, and she said, oh, hang on a second, yeah, he's here. So she handed me the phone. It was Dr. Shoker, who's the kidney wizard at St. Paul's Hospital, and he said, Michael, we have a kidney for you. It's not a great match, but it's a good match. So how soon can you get here? And I'm like, how's an hour and 15 minutes sound? Yep, get in here. So just a little bit of background. My surgeon, Mike Moser, told me time and time again over that 5 years on dialysis, one of these nights at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be wheeling down towards the operating theater, and I will be there with a kidney for you. And I'm like, really? Okay, I'll buy into that idea. So sure enough, by the time we got organized, it was 3:30 in the morning. I was wheeling down towards the OR, and Dr. Moser had a kidney for me on June 11th. And I'm like, are you psychic? How did you know? And he said, I'm just the plumber around here. So anyway, it all worked out just amazing. So that was June 11th, so going on 6 weeks now. And I'm getting stronger every day. It's made an amazing difference in my overall health. And now, just to finish that little tale off, I would encourage everybody who hasn't already to please sign your donor card. It's pretty painless. And then make sure your family knows. I received my second kidney from a deceased donor who had signed his donor card, and his family did not have any objections, so it went through. I met my kidney sibling, who also received one of his kidneys, and she's a lady from Regina named Margaret now. We're in touch, and she thinks of me as her kidney brother, and I think of her as my kidney sister. And it's an amazing thing, really. So I've decided over the years that I was going to write the third book of the trilogy in live time when I got my second transplant. I was going to wait. And as a matter of fact, about a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, I started growing a beard. It was my playoff beard until I got my transplant. It got a little longer, a little bushier, and then one day Sharon said, cut it off. We're going to go for a fresh start here. So I did. We shaved it off clean, and then sure enough, within a couple of weeks, bam, like a bolt out of the blue, that kidney came through. So I don't know, it's all kind of symbolic, I guess, but I could go on about the things that happened leading up to my transplant, but I guess all I can really say to summarize is we put a lot of signals out to the universe that, yeah, it's time. 5 years on dialysis is long enough. And somehow or another, mysteriously, it manifested. The universe opened up in its fertility and generosity, and now I can tell you I'm on the other side of it. So, so the third book, has already been started. I've written probably maybe 2 paragraphs so far, but I will be definitely putting out my third book in about 18 months from now. And I have no idea what it's going to be called. I just know it's going to be the third book of the trilogy. And after that, after I've got it off my chest, I can focus on fiction. So there you go. My fourth book will be totally unrelated to kidney health, I'm sure. Okay, now, just to kind of on a lighter note, I've selected a chapter here, chapter 40 in my first book, Dancing with Rejection. And here I go, I'm just going to read this. It's only 3 pages, so. Okay. Kate and I ambled along, frolicking merrily in the warmth cast by the midday sun. The water's wrath had subsided by then, with tongues lapping against the drifts of peewee pebbles, thrusting, receding, and thrusting in an eternal rhythm, echoing our heartbeats. All is one. The pebbles crackled and seethed in a million dances. Each one was propelled by the waves into motion against its own kind, rubbing and buffing in a happy serenade, caressing all sides to a natural, silky finish. I have a little pebble from that beach. When she gifted me with it, that eternal motion was arrested, but no matter. The precious little thing is as smooth as a light brushing of skin against skin, as delightfully soft as her breast beneath my gentle caress. Along we romped, playful as 2 young lambs. We praised the day. Is there anything more pleasant than to enjoy the company of one you hold close to your heart as a companion, friend, lover, gift? The air was crisp and bracing. The landscape was a giant's playground with toy building blocks lying randomly scattered. Some were as huge as a house, others merely the size of a man's head. We skittered and scrambled along the winding trails on the boulder-strewn beach, always with the ocean to the east. The beach lolled and buckled in cracks that were endlessly fascinating to wander over. The wind blew strong and cold then, but we were dressed in our woolens to hold our warmth away from the porous, heat-hungry air. Without protective clothing, standing there on our stony perch would be anything but idyllic. The supreme artist gilded the edges of the towering, strawberry-tinged cumulus with a delicious gold. The sun glowed a brilliant tangerine. It hung at the edge of the world. The sea, one moment placid and the next heaving, crashed against the toothy rocks. Tendrils of salty water incessantly tumbled into hidden cracks and unexplored caves. There was the frothy sea, thrusting and receding from which all life begins and into which all life returns. We were friends with this land, however careful we must be. We could also cavort and play like spring lambs. There was freedom without abandon. There was strength tempered with restraint. We clambered over the rocks as easily as if we were naked in the jungle, clothed against the chill as we were. We leaped across chasms of space and made the impossible connection, fired by rocket engines of exuberance, climbing and scampering around like daring monkeys on the rocks, scaling risky walls, navigating treacherous paths, winding mere inches in width along the edge of the cliff. At last we claimed a little swatch of pebbly beach. She and I occupied the beach, protected on three sides by wind-burnished boulders. We hunkered down to build a cooking fire. We must only protect the tiny tongues of flame from the gusty sea breeze. We discovered that there was plenty of fuel for this as we looked around to collect a little pile of dry driftwood. Soon a vigorous, compact fire was crackling and swaying with the rising and falling of the wind. On with the cooking stone, and then off to gather a feast from the bounteous lapping sea. Up and over bony ridges of rock, across a stretch of hissing pebbles, to the edge of the sea, the larder of the ages. Thrusting a hand into the icy green water, I felt carefully along the rock bed, beneath the gently waltzing kelp. My fingers were beginning to pain a little with the cold, but remained sensitive enough to tell that which eyes could not see. There were mussels there. The swollen cherry-red sun tinted legions of clouds of fiery burnished bronze. The sky was awash with salmon pink at the horizon. It faded upwards to a velvety apricot, to a heavenly tint of golden green, onto the clearest turquoise. It swept grandly into a stately blue, and ended at last in a vibrant hue of dark amethyst at the other side of the sky. The sea was a giant pool of glistening orange with shadows of lilac on the bellies of waves rolling in back to the land. The mussels were living in little clusters of 2 or 3, either directly on the surface of the rock or at a haphazard appointment throughout the layered seaweed. I'd gathered plenty of mussels by then, after making rapid chilly probes amongst the floating ranks of kelp. They were anchored resolutely underwater to the rocks upon which I crouched, crab-like. One last plunge of my arm secured an especially lucrative handful of young mussels, and with my dripping treasure I returned to our cooking fire and to the darling of my heart. The sun's eye, fast drooping and blinking, played hide-and-seek with a little crew of animal-shaped clouds. They frolicked and teased the last light of day. They pranced along the horizon as brazen as brass. The rosy sunset played on my lover's vibrant, clear pink cheeks. Her chameleon eyes were full of magic and timeless joy. We placed the mussels carefully on the heated cooking rock, and they almost immediately began to hiss and open, expelling delicious-smelling plumes of steam. We feasted on the tender little morsels, giving praise to the sea for providing the delicacy, and thanks to the mussels themselves for the nourishment. Thank you. So just in conclusion, when I was sporting my kidney transplant for all those years, really the last thing I wanted to talk or think about was kidney health. I was like, okay, I'm just living a normal life, Joe Blow, out there in the world, having fun, creating artwork. But then, when I ended up back on dialysis in 2014, suddenly kidney health came to the forefront. And I decided, I'm going to actually start advocating for kidney health. So I formed a Facebook group on the suggestion of my wife. And the first 2 members were her and I, Sharon and I. And within a year we had 900 members from all over the world. And now 5 years later we have about 15,000 members from all over the world. People on dialysis, people that have transplants, family members, support people, spouses. They're all there, and there's actually 17,000 active members in this group. If anybody's interested, it's called Kidney Support on Facebook. It's one of the most members that comes up on top of your search. And there's also the latest news flash is that I was invited by a producer in the States named Steve Belcher to organize and create my own web-based show called Global Kidney Health. And we've done 3 episodes. And the first episode was just me solo talking about my kidney health journey. Second episode, I interviewed a guy from Tennessee that's had 4 transplants. And now the third show will be next Saturday, and I'm interviewing this kind of like kidney health goddess from New York who is really heavily involved in advocating for kidney health and presenting to, for new legislation and all that. And she's been really successful over the years, so I think she'd be a great guest. And onward and upward, we're going to interview international kidney health advocates, and the first 2 episodes have had over 4,000 views already on Facebook, so that's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to the next several episodes. So I guess I've inadvertently and sort of accidentally become a kidney health advocate. So I guess you got to pick your battles, right? And that's the one I've chosen. So thank you for coming, everybody. And I have my first and second book on that table are. They're right by Julie to purchase if you're interested. And that's it for now. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to the rest of the presenters. Okay, over and out.